Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of b8ta Insider. I'm your host Noelle, coming to you live from our beautiful b8ta TV studio in San Francisco. And today I am joined by a very, very special guest. He's going to be joining us live from Los Angeles. His name is Arron Coote, and he is the CEO of Bausele. I have a couple of the Bausele watches here with me. Absolutely gorgeous, and you guys are not going to believe this, but these are actually smartwatches. He's going to tell us a little bit more about the tech behind the watches and about the brand itself. Bausele is Australia's premium watch brand. Let's bring him now and let's get this conversation going. Arron, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
Doing very well on this very rare rainy day in LA.
Oh my gosh, and we've got some clouds, but we've had some good weather, so I think we kind of swapped forecasts a little bit.
One thing I miss about living in LA, one thing I miss about home is rain. It never rains here, which I love,
yeah,
but I do miss a rainy day.
Yeah. So. Well, so you're coming to us live from LA, but you obviously we can tell you're not from the US.
Yeah. You probably understand from my accent.
Yeah, originally from Australia, from Sydney. So I know that you've got some, obviously very close ties to this brand, being that it's an Australian brand. Let's go back though a little bit. A couple years ago, I know that you were at the helm of a wildly successful beauty brand. You are an entrepreneur like no other. I feel like you are one of those, CEOs, like your side hustles have side hustles. Like you're always working on something. So tell me about the transition into watches, and specifically joining Bausele. Kind of, what inspired the decision to lead the charge at Bausele?
Look, when we sold the company in the beauty space, I wasn't planning on going straight back into another role. I was planning on having a little time off and developing some projects and things. But then when Christo and the guys at Bausele approached me, the more I thought about it, the more I couldn't say no to the opportunity to take, an amazing Australian brand and promote that to the world. As an expat, living overseas, I'm proud of Australia and the products that Christo has. I mean, the brand that he's created. I'm quite proud of that too, and I feel privileged to be able to do it. So I couldn't say no.
Yeah, absolutely. And Christo, of course, is the founder of Bausele. Founded the company in 2011. Is that
2011.
Correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
He's a Swiss watch industry veteran, and he was working in Switzerland and met his wife, who was an Australian dancer in Geneva. Moved to Australia and fell in love all over again because he fell in love with Australia. And he said, I've been designing watches for decades, or all my life, and now I can combine my two passions, which is where Bausele started. So it started over a love story.
I love that. I'm a sucker for those sappy romantic love stories. And he's French.
Yes.
And I just assumed Bausele, I thought was this lovely French word, and then come to find out it's not. It means something completely different. So tell us about where the name comes from.
Look, it sure does. Because Christo came from big corporate within the Swiss watch industry. When he was talking to some of his peers, he talked about starting his brand. They said, make sure you come up with a name that no one can say wasn't yours, that no one can say was theirs. And so he thought about it, and he came up with Bausele, which is beyond elements. Now, there's another little twist to that, because in the beginning, when he was trying to start the brand, he was thinking, has to be two things. It has to be uniquely Australian and Swiss made. Swiss made was easy, but he thought, how can I make it uniquely Australian? So what he came up with, and he's quite an interesting guy once you get it in his mind, he came up with the hollow crown, where he would put some elements of Australia, whether it be red earth from the center or some sand from one of our beautiful beaches, into the crown and send a piece of watch out beyond Australia into the world. And that's how the name Bausele came about.
Bausele. Okay, so beyond Australian elements.
Yep.
I love it. Very, very cool. And tell me, so you joined the company in 2019.
Yep.
Became CEO. Very excited to obviously to be the CEO. I know that you led the company kind of right off the bat through a pretty major rebrand. So tell us about kind of how the brand has evolved, where it is now, and where it's going in the future.
Sure. Look, Christophe being French and seeing Australia differently to how us as Australians see it, He was more kangaroos, Ayers Rock, all of the amazing things that we don't take for granted. But it's not how we live as a majority in Australia. We're more, in Australia has like great food, great fashion, people striving for success but living working hard, but also having fun along the way. We all live around the coast, and it's when you travel and people know you're Australian, they soften straight away and they want to know you, because Australia has this brand of being fun, adventurous, and welcoming people. And a watch brand that was selling, or too attached to the tourist side of Australia was missing out on which is amazing. Don't get me wrong, but it was missing out on I guess an underlying quality of Australians and who we are and how we live. Adventurous and striving for success and taking life seriously, but not ourselves, I guess, is the best way to explain it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've not yet been to Australia, but I'm very excited to go, especially with what you've just told me. Love kind of that lifestyle. Tell me about how kind of the brand and kind of brand product alignment here. So we have the vintage 2.0 hybrid smartwatch.
Yep.
Actually, let's talk a little bit about the product itself, and then we'll
Sure.
kind of go into brand alignment, because I want people to know exactly what this watch is able to do, because it's very unique, very special, and something that when you first look at it, you don't even realize it has all of these capabilities.
Yes. It's actually a hybrid connected smartwatch. So I'm not sure if you can see that there.
Yeah.
But that looks like a beautiful vintage dress watch. But it's actually tracking my activity, monitoring my sleep. And right now that I have my phone on silent, it's screening my calls. I've set my watch to vibrate only when my mum calls, because she's overseas. And if she calls during this call, something's wrong, because it's the middle of the morning there. But the watch will vibrate and let me know that I have a call from her. So you can screen your calls and allow only whoever you want through, and the watch will vibrate when they call. Everyone else will go straight to voicemail. And it's quite a tricky watch. We really enjoy it. And for us, it's about that lifestyle of staying connected, but being on your terms, not being dictated to by thousands and thousands of notifications that we get all day, every day. And it's not another screen. It's for us, hey, how about put your phone down for a minute? We'll still look after you. This phone's got your back. If there's anything important, it's not going to let you miss it. But you can play with the kids, or you can go and sit on the beach and have some peace without your phone, and you're good. You can stay present, be present in what's important to you, and you're not going to miss anything.
Yeah. And you're a father. You're a dad of two.
Four.
Right? You have four. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. So sorry.
Four adult stepchildren.
I needed to double that number. Wow. So I mean, how has this watch, I think, being, father of four, you're obviously very busy, and when you have moments with your kids, I'm sure you're just wanting to be present with them. As a parent, kind of, what has this watch meant to you in being able to allow you to be more in the moment with your children?
Sure. Look, you talked before about having side hustles and things, and that gets busy upon busy upon busy. But I mean, I don't feel like I work, because I love what I do. But when it comes to the cost of what you would be doing when you're not working, you are missing quality time with kids, and whatever. Just put it down for a minute. Let's connect. Let's have this conversation and connect, and make some memories that aren't just staring at screens and kind of hearing their voice on the side. So for me, it's super important.
Yeah, and I understand you also you struggled with sleep for quite some time, and kind of
probably
getting your tell us that story.
No, probably because of those side hustles.
Right.
Too much going on in the brain.
Keeping you awake at night. Tell us about how the watch has really kind of revolutionized your sleep.
Look, usually a watch process goes, they give me the watch early. I get to test the prototypes, make some suggestions about how to make the watch better. In this scenario or this situation, I wasn't expecting for this watch to make a suggestion to make me better. Using the sleep tracking, I've always been a terrible sleeper my whole life. I turned 50 shortly, and that's 49 years of horrible sleep. And I just resigned myself to the fact that it was never going to get any better. But then while testing this watch, I started to look that I was only getting 45 minutes of deep sleep per night. And that was ongoing. I thought maybe that's an off night. Then I had a few off nights, and then I realized that was all I was getting. And then so I decided to get some tests done. And with that data from the watch, I decided to get some tests done and found out that my melatonin was like peaking mid-morning and decreasing to nothing at night, when it's supposed to be peaking at night to help me sleep, and being reduced to nothing in the morning to help me wake up. So I realized why I could never sleep, and why in the morning I felt like someone was laying on me trying to get out of bed, like I was just too heavy. And since then, I was able to take some melatonin for a little while at certain times to get things back on track, and change a few sleep habits. And now, for the first time in my life, I'm not laying in bed stressing about when I'm going to get to sleep, because I'm getting to sleep quite quickly. And more importantly, I'm waking up in the morning and kind of wondering who this fresh, energetic guy is that I'm becoming. It's still new to me, but I'm loving it. I'm much more productive at work, less stressed, and I'm happier for sure.
Wow. And so you wouldn't have known that had you not been wearing the watch?
No, I'd resigned myself to the fact that there was nothing I could do about it.
Wow.
I just thought it was just my sleep habits or sleep patterns, and it was melatonin. There was nothing I could do about it until I fixed the melatonin issues.
Wow. What do people say when they see you wearing the watch out and about? I'm sure you get a lot of compliments, and then you tell people this is actually a smartwatch.
Yeah, people, if I'm at a dinner or an event or something, a lot of people comment on this watch, say, "Oh, nice watch," because it's vintage looking, it's dressed, it's not overstated, it's a good a compliment. Yeah. And we people say beautiful watch, and then I say, but do you know this is actually tracking my activity and monitoring my sleep? Their whole face changes. They can't understand what's happening. They're looking for the screen, and they don't get it. And then when I pull out my phone and I show them the app and I show them the data, they say, "What's the web address? What's the website? I need one of those. I need to be able to leave my phone at home, and I need to be able to just chill for a while and know that I'm not missing anything." So it's all, or at least put my phone on silent and be able to relax. And that's kind of what we're all about.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say this one, I love this one here. It goes perfectly with my outfit today. I'm probably going to put it on after this interview. But I mean, just so beautifully made, so comfortable as well. And I have two of the models here. I have the dark strap here, which is the FJ, and then the dark brown strap is the XB. Tell me about those names and what they're. I know there's something special there.
Yeah, when Christo asked me, he said, "What's something that is around this era that is very Australian, coming from overseas?" And I said, "Look, all of around that time that he was trying to associate the watches with, all of our parents, we grew up. They were driving old Fords or old Holdens, and they're the cars. It's an FJ Holden, and then the Ford XB Falcon was." That's the rose gold is the XB, and the white face with the beautiful blue hands is the FJ. So they're all named after old Australian cars that we grew up in the back of when our parents ferried us around to school as kids.
Right, I
Very
love that.
Australian.
I mean everything about this is it's just like you're capturing the spirit, I think, of Australia in a watch, a smartwatch, no less, telling the story, the narrative of the country, and the country is taking note. And actually, I know that the Sydney Opera House took note, and there was a collaboration that was done. Tell us about what that was like for you.
For a small Australian brand or an emerging Australian brand to partner with the Sydney Opera House, they'd never collaborated with anyone before. And Christo, in his passion and drive, is an incredibly driven person and passionate, and loves Australia so much. He was able to, and especially with the hollow crown, with the Australian elements we talked about early, it opens us up to collaborations with people like the Opera House. They actually took a tile down off the Opera House roof, ground it up, and put it into the crown of this collaboration watch. So people were coming to Australia and taking a piece of the Opera House with them in one of our, beautifully presented in the crown of one of our beautiful Bausele watches. Mm-hmm. And with that, the dial of that watch, every watch for us has to tell a story. You don't just make a watch for the sake of making another watch. It has to tell a story. It has to serve a purpose. And the story he created with this one for the dial is the sails of the Opera House all rotate. There are 5 separate sails that all rotate at different times, and they form at 2:45 every afternoon. They form the shape of the Opera House, which is the time when Queen Elizabeth opened the Opera House and cut the ribbon. Wow. Back, I think, in close to 40 years ago now. So very intricate movement details for that to happen, but it's well worth it. The story is what it's all about.
Yeah,
and the connection.
Right, and I know another very exciting collaboration that was recently announced with the Royal Australian Air Force. So tell us about designing a watch for their centennial celebration, which I understand is coming up at the end of this month.
Yeah, the end of this month. For anyone, that's an amazing experience. for a brand of any size, right. But for a brand of our size, I mean, we're growing quite quickly. We're doing some amazing things, but this is the most amazing to date. Both Krista and I grew up loving planes, and especially the F-18 fighter jets, and they brush past they fly past the stadium at sporting events, and the whole stadium shakes and everyone's excited, and to be able to create a watch with a piece of that on the back of it, a piece of the first ever F-18 fighter jet ever produced and manufactured and flown in Australia. We have an actual piece of that plane on the back of the watch. And to be chosen over some of the biggest brands in the world to be the official watch of the Australian Air Force I mean, we're still pinching ourselves. I'm lost for words. I mean, there's so many superlatives I could throw out here now, but none of them seem to capture the feeling. It's just something we're very, very proud of.
I was going to say, when you got the call, I mean, were you as speechless then as you are now?
I mean, it's a year later, and I'm still can't explain it properly.
Right.
Look, it's just the Air Force is something that's known for precision, and they're known to not accept anything less than perfection. And for them to have vetted us over and chosen us over a couple of behemoths in the watch industry, it says that we've arrived. And we're now looking at a couple other big collaborations. It's like, I'm lost for words on this one. It's just too good. But look, it's been very well received. We've had so many people reaching out to us and reserving their number. We've got some great stories to tell around that watch. There are, I think, 5 or 6 servicemen who served with the Royal Australian Air Force that are turning 100 this year. And one of them is turning 100 on March 31st, which is the actual birthday, the anniversary of the Air Force. So we're going to present him with the number 100 watch, and such a good story. I mean, to be able to do that is just like, it's past being proud or anything to do with business. It's such a good emotional connection, and being able to do something like that for someone, something on such a momentous occasion. It's amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. I love that. I'm so excited to hear more about that when the event happens at the end of the month. And I remember we were talking, and you told me, I believe it's the first time, in 70 years that the Air Force has
70 years
done a watch collaboration like this.
Yeah, it's they did one in the 40s and one in the 50s, and those watches are now worth, they're collector's items, and they're now worth much more than people purchased them back then. And they did IWC and Jaeger Couture back in the 40s and 50s. So 70 years since there's been an occasion momentous enough to do it, and here we are.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on that. I know people can go to the Bausele website and learn more about that watch and learn more about the collaboration with the Air Force. Arron, before I let you go, I mean, we've had such a great conversation here today, and I know how you know, your heart and soul is in this brand, and I know there's so much, you know, like we talked about, the spirit of Australia is really captured here. Just I would love to kind of, you know, have this last point. I would love to throw it over to you. What do you want to leave us with about Bausele, about the brand, about your love of Australia? Give us some closing remarks here.
Look, where Australian design and sensibility meets Swiss precision. We're taking all of the fun and warm, welcoming things and adventurous lifestyle about Australia, and we're packing it into a top quality premium Swiss watch. And you know, like, if you ever go to Australia, I haven't heard anyone that I've met say Australia's not on my bucket list, or I don't want to go to Australia. No way. Right. As soon as you come to Australia, where everyone welcomes you, you can be sitting in a cafe and on your own, and I guarantee someone's going to talk to you. As soon as they hear your accent, they're going to say, "Hey, hi, how are you? Where are you from?" You know, blah blah. Yeah. You've got to go and see this while you're here, or you should eat at this restaurant. And that's just who we are. We're friendly, and you know, we want to make friends and build authentic, real relationships, and that's what I think is behind the brand. And that's one of the things I love most about it is that we're all real. We're not trying to be. We're not saying, hey, we're not trying to be a watch company. We're just trying to be us. We're just trying to be an Australian team presenting, you know, a watch that will help promote the Aussie lifestyle. That's who we are, and that's who I am. And I think that comes through in what we're doing.
Absolutely. And tell us, for anyone that's heading over to Australia, where can they find Bausele?
Bausele, we have a store. It's actually our headquarters in Circular Quay in Sydney, or the Rocks in Sydney, which is right on the overseas passenger terminal. It's about maybe a couple of 100 yards walk from the foot of the Harbour Bridge, and looks directly across Circular Quay to the Opera House. So we're right in the thick of things. 75 George Street. Come and say hello when the borders open up, and we'll buy you a coffee and we'll talk about watches, and we'll tell you what you need to see while you're here. Or jump on the website, send me an email, and I'll answer your tourism questions.
Awesome. Arron, thank you so much for being here today and telling us more about your personal story about Bausele. I can't wait to see what's to come from the brand in the future. So thank you again.